right.
In the quiet moments, that's where I'll find a little room to breathe, leave it all behind. Give me room to breathe, I need some time to heal my heart, to clear my mind. Gonna love myself, yeah, I believe in the power of me. Just give me room to breathe.
Great new day to all my self-care family and friends. Welcome back to the Room to Breathe podcast. I'm your host, Life Coach 614, and I am so glad that you made space to be here today. Now, before we get into this episode, I want you to do me a quick favor. If you're enjoying the vibe, be sure to show us some love by tapping the screen, liking, commenting, but most importantly, sharing this out with someone who may need a little healing energy today. And if this is your first time here or you haven't done so already, be sure to hit that follow button. Subscribe to our channel so that way you're always tapped in when a new episode drops. I also want to personally each and every one of you to check out our digital home at theselfcareclub.org, where you'll find everything from affirmative apparel to motivational merch and free resources to help nourish your growth and remind you that you are supported every step of the way. Just know that you don't have to do this alone. We are healing in community, growing one breath, one moment, one day at a time. So today I encourage you to give yourself permission to pause, to reflect, and to make space for peace, for growth, and most importantly for you. Now, remember, if anything in today's episode hits home, be sure to drop some green hearts in the chat. That is our community's way of saying I'm healing, I'm growing, and I'm showing up for me. Now, let's get ready to breathe, reflect, and grow together. Let me start this off by saying that today's episode might step on a few toes. Okay, that girl, I see you. Tay's in the house. We got Miss Glow, Crystal, Lady Blue. Listen, y'all, just know, tell everybody else who comes in after, they may want to protect their feet, okay? Because we're going to step on some toes today, but it's all love, you guys. And when I say it's all love, I'm talking about healing love, okay? Because we've got to talk about, the weight of, or I guess maybe the weight that we give to other people's opinions, especially to those who have never lived what we're living, carrying what we've carried, right? Or people who have never built what we are building. I think that too often we call it constructive criticism, but really it's just noise. And if we're not careful, we'll let unqualified voices tear down what God told us to build. So today, we are unpacking the theme of stop taking constructive criticism from people who never constructed what you're going through. Anybody else feel me? Right? Like if you've ever been discouraged by words from somebody who doesn't even have receipts in your lane, yeah, this conversation's for you. Okay, that girl. So if you guys are ready to release yourself from the weight of other people's unqualified critiques, I want y'all to drop a green heart in the chat right now for me. Let me see who's feeling the vibe. Miss Gloria, that girl. Yeah, y'all feel me, right? Yes. So again, I want you guys to understand the difference between commentary versus counsel. Okay? Because there is a huge difference between commentary and counsel, right, Didi? Commentary is just noise. Okay, Crystal? Like, it's just noise. It's observations from the sidelines. It's opinions tossed around by people who never, ever have stepped on the field that you're playing on. And, these people will point out what they think you should have done, what they would have done, right? What they've heard somebody else do. But it's just surface level, right? It's just chatter. Commentary is easy because it costs nothing. Rich Risings, Miss Sherry. right? Commentary costs nothing. There's no sacrifice in it. There's no scars. There's no sleepless nights. It's just words. Okay? Just words. Now, when we think about counsel, oh, that's a whole different energy. Okay? Counsel is rooted in wisdom, in lived experiences, in scars that have already healed into lessons. Counsel doesn't just tell you what to do, it sits with you. It guides you. It holds space for you. It challenges you with love. Counsel is when someone says, I've been down that road before. I've walked this version of this road before, and this is what helped me when I did it. You don't have to copy my path, right? You don't have to do what I did or how I did it. But let me just share this little jewel with you so that way it could be a lantern or a light for your steps. Right? That's the difference, you guys. I had to learn to stop confusing people's commentary for counsel, because the truth of the matter is that some folks don't actually want to see you win. They just want to hear themselves talk. And when you're in a vulnerable state, when you're already hurting, right? When you're trying to rebuild, when you are picking up the pieces of your life, you'll start mistaking these loud voices for wise voices, and that's dangerous. So I just want to put it plain and simple. Not everybody who has something to say has something worth listening to. Okay? And y'all can tell them life coach said it, okay? That's a life coach quote right there. Because commentary will leave you second guessing yourself, while counsel will have you anchoring yourself. And I mean, just think about it. If I'm going through grief, I don't need commentary from someone who's only read, about loss in a book. Yeah, you got to filter all the information. I don't need counsel from someone I need counsel from someone who's actually had, to wake up the next day without the person that they loved. Okay? If I'm trying to rebuild after betrayal, I don't need commentary from someone who's never been let down before. I need counsel from someone who knows what it feels like to stitch the pieces back together. See, commentary will critique your steps, right? Tell you you're not walking fast enough. You're not headed the right direction. But counsel will steady your walk. Counsel will walk with you. Counsel will say, baby, I don't really understand where we're going, but I understand that you said you got somewhere to be, so let's get you there. That's energy, right? That's the energy that we are calling in. And you guys, sometimes you have to remind yourself that the loudest voice in the room isn't always the wisest. So don't confuse access with authority. Just because somebody has access to you doesn't mean they have the authority to guide you. Just because they're here doesn't mean that God sent them here to do something in a positive manner. He's already called you to do something. He's not, everybody who shows up in that path while you're on your journey, it's not always for you, for your good. You see what I mean? So you have to practice discernment. And, again, you guys, let's be real. There's nothing like wisdom that has been tested in fire, right? Lived experiences, hit different because it carries weight. It's not a theory. It's not just imagination. It's truth that has been earned through tears, through mistakes, through showing up on days when you didn't even feel like it. Lived experiences matter because without, experience, or how do I want to say this? Advice without experience can sometimes feel like judgment. Like, it's easy to say, well, if I was you, I would have, right? If it was me, I would have did it like this. But You've never had to be me. So you don't know what this looks like for me. But when you've lived through something, even if it's not exactly the same, you learn how to speak with compassion. Rich Risings, Pamela, welcome back. Right? When you live through it, even if it's not the same, you deliver it a little differently. You're not just giving answers, you're starting to share empathy. You know, and you guys, here's one of my truths, right? Wisdom that hasn't been tested in real life is just an opinion that is dressed up in nice words. That's it. If you've never had to stand where I'm standing, who do you think you are to map out my next steps? Right? And I mean, I can even take that even deeper to say that when somebody has actually lived through struggle, right? Whether it's healing from heartbreak, battling through sickness, rebuilding after loss, breaking generational cycles, they don't just tell you how to move, right? They don't just tell you what to do. They show you by how they carry themselves. They lead by example. You know, and that's why I started looking at, you know, people's fruit. What have they built? How do they live? How do they treat people? Because you can't give me directions to a destination that you've never been willing to drive to yourself. Like, how are you going to tell me how to get there? Now, don't get me wrong. Everybody's voice has value, right? Every single person deserves to be seen and heard, right? Even a child can drop a word that makes you think. But when it comes to constructive criticism, I had to remind myself that, you know, is this constructive? Because they've actually built something similar? Or is this just criticism because they don't understand what I'm building? Let me say it plain, you guys. Just because you can see my storm doesn't mean you've survived one like this. Right? Just because you have a front row seat to the storm that I am going through doesn't mean that you can survive this. And that's why lived experience matters. Because counsel is rooted in experience that carries not only strategy, but compassion. It understands the weight of people's struggles, not just the outline of the problem. Welcome in, Papa Smurf. And again, family, sometimes we give too much power to people who have never carried the weight that we're carrying, right? Their perspective may be well-meaning, but it doesn't always translate. It's like asking somebody who has never watched swimming on TV to teach you how not to drown. Like, they've never been in a pool. How can they teach you how not to drown? They can describe the strokes to you, but they've never felt the panic of water filling up in their lungs. Thank you so much, Tay. Have an amazing day, Queen. Welcome in, Liliana. And you know, experience doesn't just teach you the way, it teaches you the why. Again, that's why lived experience matters. So we have to protect our healing space because everybody doesn't deserve a front row seat to your healing process. Our healing is sacred. Our growth is sacred. And if you're not careful, you'll let people trample through your garden with, you know, muddy shoes, leaving footprints all over what you're trying to grow. And, you know, one thing that I've learned on my healing journey is that it's not a public playground. This healing journey that I'm on is private property. I get to choose who I give access to. And in that same breath, even though I may have chosen to give you access today, I can revoke that access tomorrow. That means I decide who has access to me. I decide how long they stay, and I decide what energy they bring in with them. So if you show up in my life with chaos, with doubt, with unsolicited commentary, you don't get to stay. You don't get to sit here. Period. It's a non-negotiable. It's not up for debate. This is my house. And if you don't like the way that I run my house, go to your house. Right, No Fraud? See, when you're in a season of rebuilding, you are fragile. Okay? You are fragile but powerful at the same time. And you're fragile because your foundation is still settling. You're powerful because every step you take is shaping a new version of you. But in that in-between space where the outside voices is where the outside voices can cause the most damage. Somebody's careless words can plant seeds that choke out your progress before it even blooms. Right, Crystal? Every voice doesn't deserve an echo in your healing space. And that is why discernment matters. Welcome in, Aaron. Discernment matters. See, some folks think that they're helping you, but what they're really doing is projecting their own fears, their own limitations, and their own unfinished healing on you. And we have to begin to normalize protecting our healing space. It's not about being rude, okay? It's about being reasonable. It's about being responsible for your own growth, responsible for your own peace, responsible for guarding the soil that you're breaking, that your breakthrough is trying to sprout from. Because listen, if you let everybody dump their opinions into your garden, don't be surprised when weeds start showing up where you thought your flowers were supposed to grow. And that's why I had to get comfortable saying doesn't need your approval. It simply requires my commitment, my consistency, my obedience, my discipline. Protecting your healing space is a radical act of self-care. It's telling yourself that I deserve to heal without being picked apart, without being compared, without being minimized. And sometimes the most loving thing that you can do for yourself is put a boundary between your process and someone else's perspective. Because not everybody can see the vision that God gave you. Not everybody is meant to understand the weight of your journey, and that's okay. That's okay. Don't let someone who hasn't healed their own wounds have scissors near yours. Protecting your peace is about protecting your space, protecting your energy. And honestly, it's about protecting your right to bloom on your own timeline. No, Aaron, I see you. Thank you so much for your comments. Now, you guys, let's get into some real talk of, when to receive versus when to release. Not every word meant for you deserves a permanent home in your spirit. Just like people are seasonal, right? We have to understand that there's some conversations that are seasonal. It's supposed to be here today. We get what we need to get and we release it. All right. And the trick is starting to know the difference. And that takes discernment. It takes trust in yourself, trusting your intuition. Welcome in, Positive Vibes. And sometimes experience, right? And something that I had to learn the hard way is that not every seed planted in your ear is meant to grow in your garden. Some people speak out of fear, insecurity, ego. And if you water that with your energy, you're not growing. you're reproducing somebody else's limitations. So how do you know when to receive and when to release? Well, you start by asking yourself these 3 questions. Number 1, who is this coming from? Who is this coming from? Have they walked a similar road? Do they understand the weight that I carry? Or are they just throwing words into my sky hoping that it will land somewhere? Number 2, does this align with my truth? Is this advice constructive for my life, or is it just comfortable for their perspective? Are they just, preaching their narrative? And number 3, does this empower or diminish me? Does it, lift me up? Does it motivate me? Does it make me feel good? Or is it shrinking me? Is it dimming my light? And if the answer is diminish, then it doesn't deserve a moment of your energy. Welcome in, Vegan Healer. Thank you for the heart me. Absolutely. I'll go back. Number 1 is, who is it coming from? Who is it coming from? Have they walked a similar road? Do they understand the weight that I carry? Or are they just throwing words into my sky hoping it'll land somewhere? Number 2, does it align with my truth? Welcome in, Janelle. Is this advice that they are giving me, is it constructive, for my life, or is it just comfortable for their perspective? And again, number 3, does this empower or diminish me? And if the answer is diminish, it doesn't deserve a moment of your mental energy. Receiving guidance doesn't just mean swallowing everything whole. Okay? Sometimes receiving means listening, reflecting, and then releasing what doesn't serve you. There's probably some knowledge buried down in there somewhere, right? And, when we decide to release it at whatever stage, it's not about being cold or rude. It's being wise and protective of your peace. You can hear without absorbing. You can listen without living in their fear. And that's the energy that we're calling in. I can remember a time where I shared a dream, that I honestly was terrified to speak it out loud. And so I remember sharing, and someone I respected immediately said, "That is so unrealistic. You could never do that. Like, it doesn't make sense." And for a moment, you guys, I felt crushed. But then I remembered, this person hasn't built what I'm trying to build. Right? Have an amazing day, love. Remember, you guys, you can always come back to YouTube to catch the replay. So that way you guys can get the full word at your own pace. I look forward to seeing you again, love. Welcome back. Hey, Dee, welcome in. Janelle, thank you for sharing the live. So, guys, I started to feel my light dimming. And, I had to, again, realize that this person has never built what I'm trying to build. Their experience isn't mine. So I received the lesson, but the lesson had nothing to do with what they were saying. The lesson was, their fear is not mine. And I released their words without guilt. The words that don't build you up are meant to be carried out the door, not invited to live in your soul. So protect your inner peace, protect your vision, your dreams, your peace. And so the next time somebody hands you criticism, I want you guys to pause. I want you to reflect and decide, am I receiving this because it's constructive? Is it going to help me grow? Is it going to build me up? Or am I releasing this because that ain't my burden to carry? That is not my mess to sort through. Understand that your growth isn't dependent upon somebody else's perspective. It's dependent upon your alignment with your truth. So we've talked about commentary, counsel, lived experience, and knowing what to receive and what to release. Thank you, Empress. Right? So now let's get into the real work, y'all. We can't get through this conversation without talking about boundaries. And I tell you guys, time and time again, boundaries aren't walls. They are gates, right? They let in what serves you and they keep out what doesn't. They protect your energy, your healing, and your vision. And sometimes that means saying no without feeling guilty. Think about this. Not every voice deserves value in your life. So you got to learn how to turn that dial down. You've got to learn how to turn that voice down. And that's powerful because peace is contagious. When you protect your space, you're teaching other people how to treat you. Right? And so practical boundary moves looks like pausing before responding to criticism, right? Giving yourself the opportunity to respond versus reacting. It looks like saying, I appreciate your input, but I got this. Right? This between me and God, I got this. God got me and I got this, right? It looks like choosing who gets your time, who gets your story, who gets your energy. And family, let me tell you something. Some people will get upset when you set a boundary, and that's okay. Their discomfort doesn't make your boundary invalid. Boundaries aren't a punishment. Boundaries are self-respect, self-love, in motion. I want you guys to, spend some time thinking about, a boundary that you've been scared to set. And I want you to actively take steps, courageous steps towards protecting your peace and setting that boundary this week. And here's something that we need to call out, because social media, y'all, it's a gift, but it can be a curse too. Okay? Social media has made everybody an expert. Okay? Everybody is a guru, a healer, a life coach, a this, a that, whatever. But let's be real. Reposting quotes or copying advice doesn't equal lived wisdom. Like when I tell y'all, receipts matter. If you ain't lived it, don't try to lead me through it. Okay? Like, it is so tempting for us to take advice from loud voices, polished captions, people who look like they got it all together. But expertise without experience is like a car with no gas. It looks good, but it ain't going to take you where you need to go. So y'all have to be careful on who you're listening to, who you're getting your advice from. Do your research. Just don't take it as gospel. Because what will happen is if you don't practice that discernment, if you don't sit with it and sort through it and learn more about it, you're going to fall into what's known as the projection trap. Okay? Because some people's advice isn't about you. It's about their fears, their insecurities, their unmet goals, right? Have you ever had somebody tell you that's too big? You're overreaching? right? 9 times out of 10, they were scared for themselves. They did it and they failed, right? And sometimes their can't has nothing to do with your can, right? Welcome in, no fear, no doubt. So don't inherit their limitations, right? When people show up and say, oh, you can't do that, that's impossible, I want y'all to look them dead in the eye and say, I'm possible. The word itself tells me I can, right? Bright Diamond, thank you for the follow. When people say it's impossible, I just want you to stare back and say, I'm possible. So it may not have worked for you, but that doesn't mean it's not going to work for me. Don't absorb their projection. Don't let their negative mindset become your problem. You've got to pause. You have to discern, and you have to protect your energy. But what you don't have to do is explain. You don't have to defend. You don't have to fix their fear. Their limitations are theirs, not yours. And I want you guys to really be mindful of the dangers that come with early feedback. Thank you for the love. And you guys, this one is huge, right? Some visions are fragile when they're first formed, right? Some of our dreams, our hopes, our goals, right? These are very fragile in the beginning stages, right? Maybe you just received a download from God. You don't quite understand it all yet. You're still working out the details and the kinks. So it's fragile, like a seedling that has just been planted in your garden. Welcome in, cute one. And so you have to be mindful, because if you expose them too early, people's opinions can stunt your growth. Think about a cake, right? You don't pull it out the oven before it's baked. It's the same thing with your dreams, with your goals, with your visions. Some feedback is for later, after the process has solidified. If I put a cake in the oven and I start baking it and I look at you and say, how does it taste? And you have the audacity to tell me, oh, it's not very good. It tasted a little flat, but the cake is still in the oven baking and you haven't even tasted it yet. How can you tell me what it tastes like? Right? So again, some feedback is for later, after you've baked the cake. So you have to protect the incubation season. Every seed don't need sunlight before it sprouts. That's the energy that we need right now. That's the energy that we're called into here right now. You have to protect your ideas, protect your healing, protect your time and growth. Not everybody is ready to witness your rise, and that's okay. We get so upset when our families don't support us, when our friends don't support us, when our community doesn't support us. But that doesn't mean that what we're doing doesn't have value. It's all about honoring your timeline and trusting that if God is calling you to do something, the right feedback comes at the right season, from the right people, with the right intention. But until then, trust your process, even if it looks messy to the outside world. You've got to know when to close your ears, right? That whole be still and know, right? Some lessons are learned in silence. You don't have to respond to every critique, every opinion, every unsolicited piece of advice that you receive. Silence can be one of your most powerful boundaries. I want you guys today to understand that peace is power. Sometimes the most healing thing you can say is nothing. That's it. You're not being rude. You're being protective of your energy. Think about it. Every time you react to someone's unqualified criticism, you give life to it. You hand it space in your mind, in your heart, in your energy, but you can choose to close your ears and redirect that energy towards growth. You can choose to close your ears and redirect that energy towards healing. Welcome in, Danny. You can choose to close your ears and redirect that towards what truly matters. And what truly matters is what God is calling you to do, right? And so if you feel like you're surrounded by negativity, people who always have something to say, you said, now I want some cake. I know that's right. If you feel like you're surrounded by the naysayers, hey Keisha, then it's time for you to start surrounding yourself with builders. Okay? You have to start doing the research. So if God is calling you to do something different in your life and you're like, okay, I want to do this, but then you have all the people around you telling you how you should do it instead, or why you shouldn't do this, or how they would do that, but none of them are actually in the same lane that you're trying to head on. What I want y'all to do is start doing the research. Who are other people that have already done this before me? Hey, Evanista. When I first started, deciding that, okay, I want to be a life coach, but I don't want to be just this social media life coach, right? I don't want to be just one of these people who get up here and try to tell people what to do, because that's not me. You do it how you want to do it, okay? I want to be one of these people who go to school. I want to learn. I want to get certified, right? It's not just life certifying me through some things, but I want to actually sit down with other people and learn, right? Educate myself. And life coaching, the funny thing about this career, this industry, is that you don't have to go to school for it. Anybody could be a life coach. Keisha, you can put life coach in front of your name, sis. Boom, here it is. Cherry, anybody in here want to be a life coach? Just put life coach in front of your name, right? It's an unregulated industry at this time. But initially I was turned off from that because I'm like, what sense does that make? Forget imposter syndrome creeping in. I was like, hard pass, don't want to do that. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that kind of coach, right? I wanted to be someone who actually had, certifications behind me. And so out of my own pocket, with my own decision, I decided I'm going to go to school. Hey, Coach Regina, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to learn, different things. And I'm going to, arm myself with additional tips and, policies and practices, because coaching, I never want to coach someone and then fumble them, right? When we're in our healing stage, we're fragile. So I don't want to be responsible for someone else's breaking. So, I decided, okay, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to do this because, like I said, it was important for me not to just be this social media coach, this person who gets up here and just talks out the side of their neck. I don't want to be that person. So I started, taking my courses, doing my certifications. And then the next thing I started doing was following other coaches, learning from them. Y'all, I done learned some things that I don't want to do. Some things that I refuse to do, right? Thank you so much. But more importantly, I've been inspired from them, right? I've been inspired from them. And so I started subscribing to other coaches. I started following motivational speakers, right? I started focusing on people who I've always valued the things that they say. Right? And so then it started bringing me to life. It started waking up more things in me. And so now I can say 5 years later, I have built a career. I have built a solid foundation, right? And so my work that I am doing, I could do it 24 hours a day because I love it. I built a career that is a form of self-care for me. This is something that I could do all day. I could talk about self-care all day, y'all. All day. You can give me a topic and I'm going to figure out how to flip it into self-care. I could talk about boundaries all day because I have them all day, right? So it is important when you are building, when God is calling you to do something and you truly say, I want to walk into my purpose, that you start surrounding yourself with builders. Because you are always surrounded by the takers, by the naysayers, the people who are ready, willing, and able to tear down what you ain't even built yet. Right? So as you look through my live chat, you will see coaches come in and out because they're my people. Right? You will see positive, influencers come in and out the live, dropping gems. Why? Because they're my people. Because I choose to surround myself with builders. And I want you guys to understand that not everybody who's in your current circle deserves to have a hammer. Some of them don't even know what it is. Some people are just meant to be spectators. Thank you so much, Dee. Some people are just meant to be spectators, right? They cheer, they comment, they critique, but honey, they don't build. Find the ones who bring the hammer, not just the headlines. Surround yourself with people who have walked the road, who own the tools, the insight, the encouragement. Builders don't just talk. They show up, they contribute, and they strengthen your foundation. Your healing, your vision, your process, they deserve a community of builders, not spectators. And when you curate that, suddenly the noise from the unqualified voices starts to fade out because the people who are amplifying your purpose won't drown you. Okay? The people who are pouring into you will never drain you. And what's funny is they're pouring into you and you're pouring into them. It's that iron that sharpens iron. Right, coach? And let's be honest, criticism and correction are not the same. Like, that's another thing that when I talk about something that really grinds my gears, y'all, when people come in with their criticism, right? But really it's just correction. See, criticism in its rawest, realest form points out flaws. Oftentimes without care, without solution. But correction guides, right? If Coach Regina walked in here and said, hey, life coach, I see what you're doing, but sis, next time try to do this, this, and this, because that will help you. That will amplify your message. That will grow you, right? The correction guides you. It shows up with wisdom, with compassion, with empathy, right? And correction without compassion is really just cruelty dressed up as advice. I mean, that's just the realest way that I could say it. Some people call criticism constructive, but all it does is tear you down. Real correction is rooted in care. It's in experience. It's in love. And if someone's constructive criticism feels like judgment, chances are that ain't yours to carry. Right, Janelle? Like that ain't mine. I see what you did right there. You tried it. Right? Right track, wrong train. Get off at the next station because that ain't for me. And I think that it is important for us to give ourselves permission to be the first. I did an interview yesterday with Sophie Ash. And, she talked about having to give herself permission to be the first one to do things. And that really sat with me because I was like, yeah, so many times I can recall, sitting and waiting to be second, third, fourth, fifth. And the whole time I'm sitting there waiting, this anxiety is kicking in. I'm talking myself out of it to the point where many times I didn't even do it. Because I sat back and I watched everybody else do it, and I thought, oh, I can't do it like that. I can't do it like Coach Regina. I can't get up there and talk like No Fear, No Doubt. I can't do that. I can't do what Miss Sherry's doing. I don't know the scriptures like she did. Right? And so I would talk myself out of it all the time. And so, you know, for all the pioneers, the healers, the dreamers, right? For everyone, I want you to understand that sometimes you have to be the first in your family. Sometimes you have to be the first in your community. Sometimes you have to be the first in your circle to do what it is that you are doing. We've got to realize that sometimes God is putting something on us because we're meant to be the first to do it. And that means you don't always, need guidance from people, especially people who, have never even gone before you. You're one of a kind. Stop waiting for approval from people who have never seen a version of you that has even existed yet. It hasn't existed yet. Yes, Urbanista. Stop waiting for approval from people who don't even have the qualifications to approve. God called you to do it. And if God didn't tell you, go see this person to get this passport stamped, why are you standing here waiting? You don't need the external validation. In fact, if you still feel like you need approval, God told me to have this conversation today. So you can consider this your approval. Not that you need it. Absolutely, Psych Hunter. Not that you need my permission, okay? I don't want y'all to think I'm out here just doing it. But if it helps you, then by all means. And I know that being the first can be heavy. It is scary, but it is powerful. So powerful. And it's amazing because you get to write your own playbook. You get to set your own standards. You get to carve a path that future generations will follow. And that means you also have to be comfortable, with unqualified voices. It kind of comes with the territory. But again, your boundaries aren't walls, they're gates. You get to decide who comes in and who must stay out there. So with these unqualified voices, I want us to begin normalizing healing from these unqualified voices. Our entire life, there have been people who have been unqualified, telling us what to do. So I want us to start to normalize talking about healing from old words that were never meant to lift you up. And I'm talking about from parents, from partners, from teachers, from friends, from strangers, right? Because all of these people that we have encountered over the years have said things that have left marks on us. Things like, you're overreacting. You doing too much. You being extra. You'll never make it, right? That's unrealistic for you. And so many of us are still carrying some of that energy with us today. But here's the truth. The loudest voice in your life should be the one inside of you that says, keep going. The loudest voice in your life should be the one inside of you telling you don't quit. Your healing, your dreams, your growth, they belong to you. And again, you get to decide who has access, whose opinions matter, whose words you release. And when you finally release these unqualified voices, now you're all of a sudden making space for your authentic self to thrive. Welcome in, Oak. So listen, family, here's the truth. Not every opinion is yours to own. Thank you. I want you guys to remember that commentary is cheap. It is like the lowest hanging fruit, y'all, okay? Projection is dangerous. And unqualified critique can derail your healing if you let it. So the next time someone offers constructive criticism, I just want you to pause and ask yourself, have they ever constructed what I'm going through? And if the answer is no, thank them for their input and keep building anyway. Thank you, Oak. Just thank you and release them. Your healing is sacred. Your vision is sacred. Your dreams are sacred. And your assignment is way too precious to hand over to somebody who doesn't even understand it. Now, before we part ways today, let me leave each and every one of you with a little extra love and light. As always, I encourage you to keep breathing through the highs, the lows, and every moment in between. I want you all to keep choosing peace, even when it feels out of reach. And to know that here at the Self-Care Club, you are always seen, always valued, and always supported. So don't be afraid to take up space, speak your truth, and make a little room for you to breathe. I love each and every one of you to life, and I am praying that your day is not just amazing, but aligned, intentional, and yes, on purpose, filled with purpose. This has been another Room to Breathe podcast, and I cannot wait to connect with you all again soon. I'll see you next time.